Have you ever felt like you're paying more but getting worse quality in return beef? Once the very symbol of the American dinner table, has now become the biggest worry in supermarkets. Food is supposed to nourish us, yet over the past year, several major retail chains have been caught selling beef contaminated with E. coli, tainted with hard foreign objects, or sourced from questionable origins.
Dozens of ground beef products sold nationwide have been recalled because of possible E. coli contamination.
The risks of food poisoning, kidney failure, even death, are lurking behind every meal. What makes consumers even angrier? Beef prices keep climbing, justified by tariffs and shortages, yet the quality slips further every single day. We're paying more to bring home risk. Today I'll reveal 5 U.S. retail chains you should avoid when buying beef, if you care about your wallet and the health of your family. Number 1. Whole Foods Market. For many Americans, especially those over 50, Whole Foods used to be a symbol of integrity in the food industry. A place you could trust where everything was believed to be organic, clean, and good for your health. By mid-2025, the price of organic ground beef at Whole Foods had shot up to $10 to $12 per pound, nearly double the national average. A pack of 85% lean, 15% fat ground beef, once sold around $6.99, now goes for $11.49, sometimes even higher. Consumers have been willing to pay 20, even 30% more for a pack of ground beef, believing that higher prices mean safer products. But in June 2025, that trust was shattered. The USDA's Food Safety and Inspection Service issued a nationwide alert. Whole Foods' top-selling organic rancher beef products were suspected to be contaminated with E. coli.
Concerns are linked to organic rancher products. The beef is no longer on store shelves, but it may be in your fridge or your freezer right now.
The dangerous bacteria that can cause bloody diarrhea, acute kidney failure, and even death, particularly in older adults. What made it worse was Whole Foods' response. No warning emails to loyal customers, no notices posted in stores, no apology, no clear explanation. Everything unfolded in silence, as if the company was trying to hide something rather than face the truth. Many only learned of the risk from independent news outlets or viral posts on social media. Others discovered the contaminated beef had been sitting in their freezer for weeks, already cooked and served to their families, without any idea of the danger lurking on their plates. For older consumers, this wasn't just betrayal, it was heartbreak. The painful realization that the very place they trusted to protect their health and their family's well-being could pose the greatest risk. Meanwhile, Whole Foods beef prices kept climbing at a dizzying pace. When asked why, company representatives blamed import tariffs, global supply chains, fuel costs. But no one could answer the real question: why was beef contaminated with deadly bacteria selling for 25% more than last year? The truth is, Whole Foods is exploiting consumer fear for profit. They know that middle-aged and older shoppers, those who lived through past food crises, are willing to pay extra for the promise of safety. And they wrap that promise in labels like organic and premium, using them as a shield to mask what's rotting beneath. It forces us to ask, are we living in a society where price no longer reflects quality? Are we paying extra not for protection, but simply to feel less afraid? The Whole Foods scandal is a wake-up call. Don't confuse high prices with safety. Don't assume glossy branding is a shield for your health. In a world where trust is increasingly fragile, consumers are left with only one option. Stay alert, ask questions, and think twice before you swipe your card. Number 2, Target. Imagine you're standing at the meat counter at Target. Everything is shiny, tidy, the lighting making those packages of beef look almost perfect. You pick up a pack labeled Good and Gather, Target's private label, with tiny words printed beneath USDA choice beef. It feels reassuring familiar. But wait, what if I told you that this very package, the one that looks the cleanest, the prettiest, is the same one that has sent countless Americans to the ER with stomach pain, food poisoning, and intestinal infections? It started when a handful of customers in Illinois and Michigan noticed that ground beef bought at Target had an odd smell turning color within just 24 hours, even when properly refrigerated. Nobody thought much of it until reports of foodborne illness started coming in, and an investigation traced the problem back to a small, low-profile supplier Target had quietly signed on with, trying to cut costs after tariffs on Canadian imports shot up. No one told you that. No one told you. You still thought you were buying from the gold standard quality control of a major retailer? The scariest thing about Target isn't a screaming headline scandal. It's the silent shift, inch by inch, so subtle you barely notice. According to a recent report from Food Transparency Watch, more than 60% of beef under the Good and Gather label is blended from multiple sources, including frozen beef stored for over 18 months, mixed in with fresher cuts to restore a natural texture. You're eating a product engineered to look real, but it's actually a carefully staged illusion. And the price, you might think, Target sits at that middle ground. Affordable but reliable. But as of July 2025, ground beef prices at Target have jumped nearly 35% year over year. The steepest hike among all major retailers. A pound of beef runs about $8.49. Almost the same as Whole Foods, but with quality that no one's really guaranteeing. So what are you actually paying for the Target brand name, or the false comfort that at least it's not Walmart for older Americans? Those who grew up believing in traditional values and transparency, in corporate integrity. Target is a cultural gut punch, a store that looks wholesome yet sells beef processed no differently than any industrial assembly line. Nobody shouts in your face, "This beef isn't safe," but every sign is screaming it. And they know you won't ask. You'll just pick it up because it looks fine. That's what makes Target dangerous, not that they did something blatantly wrong, but that they've made you stop asking questions. Number 3, Walmart. Walmart controls more than 1/5 of America's entire grocery market. Every day, millions of packages of beef leave the cold storage, hit the shelves, and end up straight on the dinner tables of working families. To much of the middle class and retirees, this is the place that's clean enough to trust, cheap enough to live on. But that word, enough, is exactly the problem. In April 2024, nearly 1,643 pounds of ground beef supplied by Cargill to Walmart were recalled for potential contamination with E. coli, a strain that has caused deadly outbreaks in the U.S. before. Less than 3 months later, another 9,000 pounds of beef from Thomas Foods was recalled, this time for suspected hard plastic fragments in the packaging trays. All of it sat on Walmart shelves across hundreds of stores nationwide. The unsettling part isn't the incidents themselves, it's how Walmart handled them. No in-store postings, no warning signs at the meat counter, no customer alerts by text or email. Consumers only found out if they happened to read USDA bulletins, something most working Americans never even check. So what if you'd already bought it, cooked it, served it to your family? Walmart didn't deliberately hide the news, but they didn't take the initiative to protect you either. In this vast system they pride themselves on, efficiency costs logistics. Product recalls are treated as a technical appendix. That silence isn't just an oversight, it's a systemic risk. A small butcher shop might make a mistake, but at least you'd get a face-to-face apology. Here, Walmart treats recalls as just another box checked on the process chart, and you, the customer, are left to fend for yourself if you want to stay safe. When safety failures happen, quietly treated as footnotes, trust, already fragile, fractures from the things no one even bothers to say out loud. Walmart isn't selling rotten beef, but they are selling beef inside a system where if it ever goes bad, you're the one who has to find out. Number 4, Kroger. In the minds of many older Americans, Walmart isn't just a supermarket. It's a lifeline for everyday living. A place they believe that no matter how tight the budget, they can still bring home things that are safe enough for the whole family. But the reality of today's food industry is making that trust more fragile than ever, especially when it comes to beef. Let's face the truth. Walmart runs the largest beef distribution chain in America. Every day, millions of trays of beef are cut, ground packaged, sealed, and shipped out from plants across Texas, Iowa, Pennsylvania. All of it is done at an industrial pace with maximum automation to ensure thousands of stores are always stocked and ready to sell. But what happens when speed becomes the top priority and quality control is reduced to spot checks? When a single line processes 100,000 pounds of beef a day, can you really believe every single tray is being carefully inspected? In 2024, Consumer Reports carried out an independent survey across 5 major retailers, including Walmart. The results showed that among random samples of ground beef taken from Walmart stores in 3 states, over 40% contained bacteria that cause diarrhea. or bacteria that only show up when plant sanitation isn't up to standard. That doesn't mean every package of beef at Walmart is unsafe, but it does mean the risk is baked into the system, not just in isolated incidents. Unlike chains like Costco or Kroger, Walmart relies heavily on secondary suppliers. Processing facilities that rework frozen raw materials, then repackage them under Walmart's private label. That process makes the origin of the product murky. The beef you're buying may have been frozen, thawed, and repackaged 2 or 3 times, turning texture and safety into moving targets. But the packaging still looks brand new. The label still says fresh. Who would ever suspect otherwise? What does this system produce? Packages of beef that look fine but change color overnight. Strange smells masked by vacuum-sealed plastic. Shipments quietly rejected for failing quality checks. But customers are never told why. And millions of consumers keep buying, keep trusting, because really, what choice do we have? Walmart doesn't deceive you with flashy ads. They simply run a system built to maximize output, where beef isn't treated as food but as inventory units. And when millions of those units hit the market each week, a few hiccups are just statistics on a spreadsheet. But for the consumer, especially those living on the belief that they're shopping somewhere safe enough, those statistics aren't acceptable. You might not see the problem today, but it's there. In every package sealed by machines, and in every moment you aren't warned fast enough when something goes wrong. Number 5, Aldi. At Aldi, nearly every product carries a private label, which means you don't see any major brand names, no manufacturer logos, no specific plant addresses printed on the packaging. Instead, you get placeholder names like Simply Nature or 85% lean ground beef. Labels that sound safe and familiar, but in reality make it extremely difficult to trace when something goes wrong. There was a case in Missouri where a batch of ground beef sold at Aldi was returned because it developed a strange smell and changed color just 12 hours after purchase. But when consumers asked for information about its source, no one could say exactly which supplier it came from. Aldi simply responded that it was a product packed to our internal standard, but provided no details on the processing plant or how it had been stored before reaching the store. The problem isn't the product itself. It's the lack of cross-checking in the supply chain. Big retailers like Target or Walmart usually have their own inspection teams or partner with food labs. But Aldi, in order to maintain its lean staff, low-cost model outsources the entire inspection process to third-party partners. This creates a very real risk if the supplier isn't honest, or if inspections aren't accurate. Aldi has virtually no second layer of defense to catch the danger. An independent report by the food safety group Clean Label Project, released at the end of 2024, revealed that some samples of Aldi's Simply Nature ground beef contained heavy metal residues more than 25% above the industry average. Though not yet above the FDA's legal danger threshold, it raised a critical question. Why doesn't a mass-market grocery chain have stricter oversight systems in place? Aldi's customers are largely budget-conscious shoppers, people who don't have the time or means to read lab reports or scan barcodes. They see the low price, and they buy. But in the world of industrial food, cheap always comes at a cost. No one is saying Aldi's beef is inherently dangerous, but when you don't know where it came from, who packed it, or who inspected it, the risk isn't abstract. It's a probability wrapped in plastic sitting in your fridge. With Aldi, the choice isn't between good or bad. It's between knowing or guessing. And when consumers are forced to trust a nameless label from a retailer that won't fully disclose its sourcing, that unease becomes unavoidable, especially for those still cooking for their families on faith rather than facts. Beef was once the symbol of abundance and quality in the American meal. But today, as quality declines, origins blur, and the cold, opaque industrial process spreads, the only thing left in every tray of meat isn't nutrition, but a gamble on trust. You may still have to buy beef because life doesn't leave you many options, but at the very least you deserve to know who's behind it, what's hidden beneath it, and when something goes wrong. Who will take responsibility?
This video does not promote division within the United States or encourage segregation. All content is presented for the purpose of exploration, analysis, and fostering discussion based on current events, public sentiment, and social trends. We fully respect the United States Constitution and all federal regulations. If today's analysis made you think, drop a comment so we can keep the conversations going. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you will never miss our next independent deep dive.